Welcome to another edition of the Corner Booth podcast here from the Snowdon Deli. I'm Aaron Rand, along with Bill Brownstein of the Montreal Gazette, and our special guest today, former Montreal mayor and soon to be apparently the Premier of Quebec. I'm basing that on what you said when you walked in. Denis Coderre. Monsieur Coderre, thank you so much for being here.
You said yes to that, right?
I did. I didn't say, no, someone else said yes to that. It wasn't me.
The deli cutter said
I will point out that when you walked in and someone saw you and said hi, you said hello back and then said,
well, he said it was
say
this.
hello to the next Premier of Quebec.
I said, do you say hello to the next premier? It was a question.
So we have a lot of questions.
Said, "No, Denis."
Let's start. Okay.
Yes.
First of all, do you want to make it official today that you are in fact running for the leadership of
I'm
the
thinking
provincial?
about it because I said I'm going to do Compostelle. I have 300 kilometers to walk, and then voila.
That's not till
I'll come
June.
back to the corner booth.
that's May or June.
That's May, so
Yeah.
I'm going to say it in June.
Well, like Trudeau walked in the snow, I remember, but that lasted
I hate
shorter.
snow.
It's
It's
like
going to melt.
to make a decision. You're doing a 300 kilometer.
I don't need snow to make decisions.
So let's talk about that first since you brought it up. You're
Yep.
doing this walk. Why are you doing this? What's the reason for it?
Honestly, there's two purposes. The first one is religious because I thank God he gave me life back again because a month ago I was not even able to talk and walk. Now I still have an accent in English, but it's okay. And my dad passed away, God rest his soul, he was 92 and he died in front of me. And I said, Dad, you come with me, we're going to have a walk. Secondly, of course, you have a lot of journalists who think that when Jesus walked to the water that he wasn't able to swim. So after that, they might say that my health is okay, there's no issue after 300 kilometers.
So let's talk about your health. How,
Yes.
you seem
I want to thank the Jewish General Hospital because my neurologist, Dr. Minouk, gave me the green light 2 weeks ago, so I'm okay.
You know, you were getting flack from the old mayor of Quebec City, Régis, who said that, like he was pointing, he said, you're too old. He's older than you, by the way. He's 68.
I said when I'll turn 68, I might take my retirement.
But like everybody thinks it's a young man's game. I mean, it's very ageist on a certain level. How do you feel about that? People,
I think it's stupid because I remember that when the government of Quebec needed some teachers or nurses, they bring them back from retirement, right? So is it a floss to have experience? I mean, the problem with this generation and some others, they think that it's always somebody else's fault, and nobody take the heat anymore. You always play the victim. We live that in Montreal, we live that in Quebec. It's always pointing finger at somebody. I said, no, I like to take the heat. I love the heat. So I have no problem with that. And I want to excuse myself because I gave 40 great years for the population, for my country.
you know, you're well tuned to federal politics, municipal politics, provincial politics is a whole new ballgame for you. Are you comfortable going out into the province and peddling a different kind of message?
I would say yes, because right now there are some people who talk about immigration and some people who knows about it. I've been Minister of Immigration in Canada for 2 years and a half. I'm fed up to see people finding, it's always a scapegoat syndrome. They're pointing fingers and say if everything is a problem, it's because of the English. That's stupid. And thirdly, if you don't want to hear about me, make sure that there's no more referendum and we don't talk about separation of Quebec.
okay.
The only purpose why I would come back, look about, when we talk about housing, I have experience. We talk about immigration, I have experience. We talk about relationship between federal, provincial government, I have experience. I visit the healthcare system, I lived it myself, and what you see is what you get.
I want to go back to a couple of things there. Number one, I don't know if you'd agree or not. I don't think there's a middle ground for people for Denis Coderre. Either love Denis Coderre or you hate Denis Coderre, right? So for people who are on the other side, maybe not your biggest fans, how do you convince them that you've changed, or have you changed?
I'll tell you a secret. I will never change. I'm going to evolve. I can make mistakes. I will still make mistakes, but I don't do it twice. The same one. Secondly, listen, when I said I want to know, there's 95% of the population knows me. That's not arrogance. I'm looking for the 5%. I don't know where it is. So, no. Listen, I feel a bit like people like Churchill. I'm a man of crisis. I'm somebody who's, when there's some chaos, I'm a general from the trench. And I'm not in the tent in the back just watching maps and give you orders. I like to put my hands in it. So I'm from the kitchen. I'm not from the lounge. So.
Well, what do you say to people charging you with fear-mongering about separation all over again?
I don't care. I mean, it's like separation is not fear-mongering, it's facts. I mean, when somebody, and I like Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, he tried to crash my my scrum, and finally
with
make
all
the
due
news with me.
respect, he was just watching and you kind of invited him in, I think, right?
Of course,
Okay.
exactly. No, I like him. He's a man of dignity, I have no problem. As a matter of fact, my best friends are not even thinking like me, which is great. So we can complete or make them understand. And you see, when somebody said that compared itself to Slovakia, take a look at FICO right now, the coalition with extreme rights. He's pro-Russian. He's going to get rid of the support of Ukraine. And secondly, we're saying that, a budget for separation, there's no cost. We're not even able, for God's sake, to build a house in 6 years. But if we make a new country, it's going to be, there won't be any cost.
But you're being taken to task.
I don't believe in unicorns.
You're being taken to task for this fear-mongering that they say you did.
It's not scaremongering.
I asked this question on my show. Most people agree with you.
Yeah.
Most people don't understand, although they will say, why is Denis Coderre bringing this up? No one's talking about separation. It's not an issue anymore. There's not enough support
They
for it.
talk about
Why
public
bring it up?
consultation now. I mean, we need to cut that BS once and for all. I mean, everybody used the PQ as a flavor of the month. Now they are heading the polls. And if there's an election, I'm not the one who said they will have a referendum. Now they change even the words for public consultation just to make it pass. But, it's good to put sugar on the cake, but Rigolaz is about what's inside, not what's on it.
But you brought back no merci. People say, Denis, that's 1980. That's 44 years ago.
Well, if there's
Why?
a referendum, it's yes or no. No. That's it. I believe in the country. That's it. I mean, I served this country for 40 years. I give all my life to this. I want to build bridges among people. I'm fed up to see pointing fingers saying that if perhaps loses because of the Anglophone, and that there's a rise of anti-Semitism, and I'm going to be there.
So
Like it or not.
a couple of the issues. People say, Denis, you should be talking about the issues. Never mind about separation. If we put that on the back burner for a second, let's talk about something like Bill 21. The Liberal
We'll keep
government
it.
that's there now
We'll
is
keep it.
against Bill 21. You want to run for leadership of a party, your position is diametrically opposed to theirs.
No, what I'm saying is that we'll have debates. Can we have debates in this society? I believe that I believe in laicity for a state, but I'm a Catholic, for God's sake. I organized the Pope's visit last year. I mean, I'm there. I practice. Sometimes I even go to synagogues because I like that.
Better than us.
Hey, there we go. I mean, I kissed the Torah several times to help me.
But you
Thank
support
God
Bill
there's
21.
COVID. No, I support Bill 21, but I think that the real issue is not about the notwithstanding clause. If it's there, if there's a purpose, you have to pay the political price of it. I have no problem with that. Now, what I'm against is the way they play the language issue regarding Concordia or McGill. It's nuts. I mean, come on. We talk about immigration except when students and foreign workers are a source of revenue. And like it or not, equalization means demography. Or you make children, or you fill the gap with numbers, and that's immigration.
So what would you do if we move like down the road and you were the Premier of Quebec? Do you go back and rescind the McGill and Concordia tuition hikes?
Nope.
You don't?
No, I don't.
What do you do?
First of all, I spoke to the chancellors. We'll sit together. You know, people don't realize that, or they don't want to talk about it. But we have one of the most greatest agreement between, that's after Michtek's death, between McDougall and Monet Gagnon Tremblay, that agreement on immigration. And you know how much Quebec received? That's your tax and income. From 2017 to 2021, it was $1.7 billion. And in that amount of money, there's supposed to be money for integration. Now, I don't give a damn about consolidated fund. We need dedicated fund. I want to know where the money is going from. And it's the PQ who cut all to franchised immigrants. They cut the school's money for that. So there is money because there's an indexation every year. So, I mean, you want to touch that? I mean, why you think that Ontarians and other provinces would like a piece of it? Because they know that it's a golden pound. But we should follow the money, respect the people who pay their income, and make sure that we take some valid answers.
The Corner Booth podcast is brought to you in part by the Snowdon Delicatessen, where we are. 75 years in business, the home of Montreal's greatest smoked meat, plus carnotzel, potato latkes, and the famous Snowdon Deli party sandwiches. That's the Snowdon Delicatessen.
Are you shocked by the way the CAC has slipped so suddenly in the polls, and
No.
the PQ with only 4 members is just, you're not shocked at all? You're not surprised?
No, it's the flavor of the month. Listen, I've been in the press for 4 weeks, and just by thinking if I'm running, you ain't seen nothing yet.
So when you say flavor of the month, the CAC, I mean, they talk about having lost in Jean Talon, and that was the beginning of the turn for the PQ. You believe that?
Yes. The problem is that CAC doesn't know how to handle things. And when it's a so-called movement, it's not a political party like the Liberals.
Coalition.
Everybody said that the Liberals and the PQ was dead. The Liberal Party exists for the last 150 years. And even in 1969, when Bourassa left Lesage, Bernard Arsenault, the grandfather of Patrick Roy, rest his soul, said that to be a liberal is to be a federalist, it's not to be a socialist, and we're against extremists, left extremists. I'm a radical center. I'm a proud federalist, and we have to stop hiding about it. And I'm not socialist, but my heart is at left and my wallet is at right. So you can be fiscally responsible, but like we've done with Mr. Coderre in the past, in the 90s.
So Marc Tanguay, who's the interim leader, has come out a couple of times and publicly stated that, first, I think it would be great to have Denis in the race.
No, I like Marc.
But then he also came out and said a couple of things that you said that he does not agree with. And when I say he, I mean the Liberal Party.
No, but right now there's a caucus hearing. They have the right to do so, and they're doing extremely well. Look, Monsef Veragi from the Liga spoke about the 0.05.
The blood alcohol level?
Yeah. That's perfect. I think it's great. But, did anybody ask themselves that if you apply the notwithstanding clause, it means that you're part of the Canadian Constitution? When you change the linguistic, the religious school or professional school from that to linguistic and have a constitutional amendment, does it mean that Quebec is part of the Canadian Constitution now? Thank you.
So that's the rationale for saying it's okay to use the notwithstanding clause for whatever you want?
If it's there, you pay the political price. I have no problem with that.
What's the price?
The price is that we are, this is a laic state, and we have to respect that. Your thoughts are private, and there's a consensus. Nobody spoke. We're supposed to have major problems in the last 5 years. We didn't have that. I rather focus on the language issue, and we are French, but not pointing fingers and stop the scaremongering all the time and the scapegoats syndrome.
So on that issue, though, and I'm going to go back to McGill and Concordia, you become premier, you're leaving that tuition hike in place.
We will sit together and how can we make things better? And I know that there's a revenue attached to it, there's a budget attached to it, and we need to have a reality check.
Okay, well, when you talk about scapegoating the English, you remember what Jean-François Robert said, which was he hears too much English spoken in downtown Montreal. When you heard that, what did you think?
Well, when somebody served me in English, I refused to buy it. That's it. We are in a society where you learn French by sound now. I mean, can we be proud of our language and instead of saying it's your fault? It's not your fault, it's our fault, and we have to assume it. I agree that Quebec is a French majority, but the others are part of the team too. You know, remember all that issue about the us and the je and I, issue? That we're coming back to it, and there's only two more sensitive core that exists. It is the cultural safety, security, and the financial security. So the wallet and the identity. And when you use too much identity, you have to be very careful because you start to touch something called ethnic nationalism. And I don't like that at all.
As a former mayor of Montreal, does it not bother you that the present government takes the city for granted and, in fact, doesn't even understand like a lot of the damage it does in terms of, for tourism, for economic...
Everybody's using everything. By the way, I didn't come with my bike today. I'm not a fan of the Projet Montréal, but to point fingers at the mayor, and even Poilievre when he said the stupid thing, that's stupid. You don't do that. You just show, or you keep for yourself.
But
or not. But why pointing fingers? Why insulting? You don't manage things by insulting. Why? Because the other person, if it's true, will play the victim, and it's going to return at you.
But in terms of underestimating the economic impact that Montreal brings to the province,
you know why? Because we have a bunch of provincialists who believe that municipalities are a provincial creature, and they are proximity government instead. If you do that, integration, housing, is there anybody, for God's sake, who will read the status of Metropolis? Because when I was there, I gained back most of the power in housing and integration. All you need to do is to diversify the revenue, and I know how to do that. And if you do that, I mean, Mr. Couillard did a tremendous job with Coderre and Moreau. When we work together, we respect it. And you notice yourself the leadership with municipalities. I believe, and my politics is counterbalance. I believe in counterbalance. And when you use that, you have the citizen is best served. And to do so, it means that you need a better balance between municipalities and the Quebec government. Same thing as provincial government and the federal government, because where the citizen is best served. And to do so is to have a new pact with municipalities and make sure that they have the tools to work with. We already have a status of metropolis, a status of the capital. We have more municipal autonomy. We need to give them more tools, and to do so, and but don't mangle about the budget will cost nothing for a new country when you don't know how to hell apply regulation, because it's going to take you 3 years to have a construction permit and stuff like that.
I heard you say the other day, I think in an interview with David Hertel, and you were talking about municipal politics, and you used the word crap to describe what's happened in the city since you were no longer mayor.
Yeah.
Are you still disappointed, upset at how things turned out last
We
time?
lose size. This metropolis is used as a bad village. We don't do what we had. When I left, we cut the expenses. We had a budget of $4 billion. We restrict the employment, and we have the same level of employment before the merger. Now, 5 years later, we have a budget of $7 billion. We were supposed to not to tax more than the inflation rate. And in the last 2 years, we had up 9.5% when the inflation is 4%. Secondly, we hire more than 3,100 new employees. It's all recurrent for expenses. I mean, they're gonna, and with the life experience right now, the expectation. People will receive more a pension than a salary. So, and we say that we don't have money.
You sound like someone who wants to run again.
No, I'm not running. You call it experience, Aaron. It's like what you're doing every day at CGD.
I know you want to run provincially, obviously.
I'm thinking about it.
But you look at what's happening municipally, and you've laid out some pretty interesting changes between when you were running things and when Valerie Plante took over. No chance you'd get back into municipal politics?
Nope. No, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done. That's it. But I can give my opinion. I pay taxes.
Like everybody else?
Yesterday, I pay all my taxes, my income taxes, my $4,400.
Let me ask you about something else. Nicholas Tetreault was on the radio yesterday. He says you know him because he said you worked together. He gave you many hours of his advice back in the day.
His only good thing is he voted for me the last election.
He says he wants to run for the leadership as well. He hasn't 100% confirmed. And then when he was asked about you,
first
he
of all,
said,
it has to be accepted.
Okay. He said you, Denis Coderre, were old wine in a new bottle.
Yeah, but everybody prefer old wine.
Good point.
It's a good taste, right? Listen, he ran for the leadership of the Conservative the last time. He used to work for Mr. Parizeau. He voted yes to the referendum in '95.
We see a lot of that.
So not
politics.
I'm not in charge of the Green Light Committee, so we'll let them take a decision.
But let me ask you, in terms of the present.
You're so quiet today. What's going on?
I'm trying to get it.
Too much?
No. I mean, we're listening.
Aaron is watching you. Go for it.
I know.
It's my job.
My point is the Liberal Party, the current MNAs there right now. Have you been in contact with them? What are their feelings towards you?
I spoke to all of them for the last 40 years. I don't wait for a leadership convention to talk with them. But I didn't ask them their support because...
Do you get a sense of...
Why should I ask them a support when I'm not even sure if I'm running?
No, but you get a sense that you would be...
The relationship is amazing. I know Michel Setlacouille, I know Lise Praz, I spoke to France Benjamin, I even helped him with the last election. Madoua Godette in Bois-Sauvé is a friend. Marc Tanguay was part of my writing when I was federal aide for 16 years. So I spoke to them all.
What happens if someone, and his name is being mentioned more and more, like François-Philippe Champagne decides to run? What does that change? Anything for you? He's not going to run.
He's my friend, and the guy is doing a tremendous job. He's the petit gars Shawinigan number 2. He likes to focus on his economy affair in the country, and he's doing a tremendous job.
So what's going to change your mind, though?
I like the Energizer Rabbit. He's great.
What's going to change your mind about, like, after you do your big walk? What's going to change your mind that you like?
Well, right now I would say, and I said that at the National Assembly foyer, so I can repeat it. I'm sure at 80%. I'm going to walk. I'm going to see if I fit for it. And I'm consulting a lot. I've been already in Quebec, Sherbrooke, Shawinigan, Lévis, and I'm talking to a lot of people. And frankly, the enthusiasm is there.
You say 80%.
Yep.
Well, that's more than we've heard so far. Before I thought it was 50% at a certain point.
No. I'm not a 50% plus one.
Yes.
We have a clear act.
I'm just curious. It's going to be June before you make up your mind 100%.
Yes.
Some people look at this and say, okay, Denis Coderre wants to run or is thinking of running for leadership of the party. Typically, you wouldn't be showing up in Sherbrooke and Drummondville and, as you said, looking for support to decide. Why do that now? Why not do that after you decide you want to run?
Why you invite me today?
Because...
Thank you.
So this is about just seeing if people are interested?
It's about consultation. I believe in this country. I am liberal. I don't mingle with it. I've been fighting for this country for more than 40 years. I've been in politics. My first election was at 5 years old at kindergarten. I became president of my class. Remember?
And did you win?
I won by acclamation. So I made them an offer they couldn't refuse. But I love people. You watch me, I'm going to talk with you. You're doomed. That's it. And frankly, I believe in the kitchen more than the lounge. And you have a lot of people who look at you or condescending, but because they don't believe in people. I believe in people. I love people. I like with people. Okay, I have a way to talk. I'm controversial, but if you're in big trouble, who are you going to call?
Not the
But you know
Ghostbusters.
people will look back.
Nobody even goes.
The ones I mentioned who are not Denis Coderre fans will look back on things when you were made, like the e-race, like the spending. I mean, that's a while ago now. Is that still something you have to overcome? Do you hear that from people or not really?
No, I hear that. I mean, you know, I feel a bit like Jean Chrétien was my mentor, my political father. I mean, when he was in Ottawa and he's done so many things, yeah, everybody was looking at him, you know, from up there, and because he's from the rural area, he was a petit gars de Shawinigan. I said, well, I'm the petit gars de Joliette. It's okay. And I'm a son of a carpenter, proudly, and everything that I got, it's because I've been fighting for it. Nobody gave me. There's only one guy who took a chance one day to appoint me minister, and it's Jean Chrétien. And I'm going to be loyal to him for my life. And we're still talking. I love him as a dad, and he's a great man. And
What does he say about you doing, considering liberal leadership in Quebec?
Have you talked to him about that?
For sure. I won't repeat what he said privately, but he called me back the next day.
And
Oh, it's
Supportive?
always great. It's always great. He said, Denis, do what you feel and do it well and always stick to the people. He said, and rightfully, he said, if you seek popularity, you'll never be respected. If you feel respected, you might become popular.
We would be remiss if we did not, and I started by talking about this at the beginning, talk about actual issues.
Yep.
So you used to be a federal immigration minister. Let's talk about immigration because
Yeah.
the provincial parties right now have pretty different ideas. One wants 35,000, that's Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon. The CAC are
That's
talking
nuts.
about 60,000. What's your stand? What do you want to see?
My stand is we need to have enough immigrants to fulfill our duties. We have an issue of manpower or person power. We have an issue of revenues. We have several issues. It can be a factor of pressure regarding housing, but the housing crisis is not because of immigrants. Secondly, all those immigrants who studied in universities are becoming future ambassadors of our great country. You know what happened in the West Indies? I mean, we had so many people who study in Concordia or McGill, and right now remain here like the French because they think that this is the land of hope and a great place to be, and they give back. I was there with the Syrians when they came here, when we had some specific. And by the way, don't mangle refugees and foreign workers and immigrants and foreign students. It's a total ball game. But by doing so, everything has a purpose, and I truly believe in immigration. And I believe that our role is to make sure that I respect that. It's a matter of numbers. We need them.
well, what kind
do
of
you have a
numbers?
number?
Do
Yeah.
you have a number?
I don't have any numbers because I don't know what's the need. If we need more in Laval or in the rural area, you know what I would do? I would make sure that because the professional codes are under the law of Quebec. If I feel sick, I have two choices: or the Jewish General Hospital, or I take a cab because most of those taxi drivers are doctors
Yeah.
not recognized,
Yeah.
which is BS.
So speaking about healthcare,
Yeah.
what are your views there? Because that's a minefield.
Well, I have tremendous people who help me there, and like Dr. Carl Weiss.
But in terms of the province, like healthcare's the way we are now.
There will be a time where I'd like to speak about, instead of reinventing the wheel and having a reform all the time, I don't believe in centralization all the time. We need to have focus on the front line, and secondly, on the funding, because 50% of our budget goes to healthcare. So remember, Michel Clair his only flaws was because he was a great minister, and he put up together a report talking about a national healthcare fund. So we can take the generation fund that exists already and change it as a national healthcare fund. Maybe that's a way, and we know all the foundation and the philanthropy are doing a tremendous job. So maybe that's a thing. Secondly, the role of the CLSC. Do we need to go to emergencies all the time? And when it works at 150%, we have an issue there. So maybe if we change gear and making sure that people have a way to go to emergency, that might be it.
Okay.
But let's talk to people instead of trying to from scratch all the time.
You like this idea of Santé Quebec, one giant umbrella to take care of the entire
I'm
province?
not sure that.
Okay.
The more and more we think that we can settle issues with agencies. Same thing with transport agencies. Hello, I mean, instead of trying to find a color to a line, can you just make it? We've done it with them, with Mr. Couillard. I went to Ottawa. We decide where the money should go, and we made it happen. Now, instead of being celebrated, we think there's always some problems, and we find flaws instead of celebrate. I mean, when the Metro came in '65, there was some flaws too, but nobody can think without the Metro now, right?
So, last thing, and we're going to have to wrap up. So we've talked about education, we talked about immigration, talked about employment, I
We
guess.
didn't talk about education.
Let's talk about
Talk
education.
about education.
we know how serious a problem that is. Bernard Dranville is under fire just about every other day.
Is he federalist now?
I'm not sure.
I'd
You'd
like
have
to
check.
see. I'd like to see. We should ask questions, and Mr. Brinville. I mean, now that you have your limo, do you think that you should be there also to defend the country?
Well, you can bring
How do
that
you
up.
feel?
Okay. I want to ask the last thing, which is about, and it's going to be an issue, not so much necessarily here, but I imagine if you look at the Liberal numbers in the regions, support 4%, 5%, that's a huge hurdle to have to overcome. First of all, how do you do that? And second of all, with respect to language, it seems like the CAQ just keeps adding, another poke every year to Bill 96, just to make it a little bit more difficult for Anglos, for service. What's your take on that?
I think that Anglophones are first-class citizen, and Anglophone has the right because they're part of the solution in our province and in great place of ours. And secondly, listen, I believe that we, at one point, how do we connect? Wilfrid Laurier, and it was in the 19th century, used to say that French Canadians, which is Quebecers, don't have opinions, they have emotion. So let's make people vibrate and we'll make it happen. I can tell you that and I'm asking all the Liberals to come back because the country is at stake. When there's a leak in the roof, you don't get rid of the house. You just make it stronger, and that's it, and you learn from that. And frankly, there's some Liberals who didn't vote for us at the last time I voted Liberal. But we didn't. I have Jennifer Macaron, who's doing a tremendous job, and who's my M&A. But I believe that there's some Liberals who felt left alone. Who, those famous people who think that after 45 years old you cannot be useful because you know too much. You have some people who vote for CAQ because they want to see Québec solidaire. By the way, I mean, Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois was a red square. If you want a total red, you talk to me. And at the end of the day, if people feel that we have great values and we stick to it, they will come. If you build it, they will come back. It's field dreams.
Speaking just of that, the leaks in the roof that you were talking about, what do you think about this maybe billion-dollar plan to refurbish the Olympic Stadium?
First of all, I want to see the study because they say it's going to cost $2 billion to destroy it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. Secondly, would you please add up in the 870 millions, 15 millions? Because if you want to have Taylor Swift, I want to hear it. And there's a sound problem there.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, I'm not the one who did it. I wanted to bring the FIFA, the World Cup, to Montreal. We had it. They left it because they said the roof. Now they said they're going to make a roof. And we have 3 more games. There will be 7 games in Vancouver and 6 games in Toronto. Where are we?
Nowhere.
We're not even there. Thank you.
We have to wrap up. I didn't get an answer to my question about Anglos, which is simply this. Do you think, and I'll frame it differently, is Bill 96 as it stands right now, and I know you support Bill 96, is it too restrictive and getting more restrictive with respect to Anglo rights or not, in your opinion?
Well, you'll invite me next time and we'll talk about language only. But I think I was pretty clear. I'm saying that everybody has a place in the sun. And instead of pointing fingers, we should all work together to make this place shine again.
You talked about scapegoating at the very beginning.
Yeah.
A lot of Anglos, Alphonse.
That's the pointing fingers, and I hate that because I think that they're part of the foundation, and Montreal, Quebec is not the same because of their grandfathers and grandmothers who built this place.
We are done, out of time. I want to thank you so
too
much
bad.
for coming in.
Come back.
Shabbat shalom.
We'll have you back. And by the way, good luck on that walk.
Thank you.
It's a big challenge. Wish you all the best on that.
My pleasure, my friend.
Yeah.
That wraps up this edition of the Corner Booth from the Snowdon Deli. We'll see you again soon.